So, good afternoon, everyone, and I would like to welcome you all to this fourth webinar on how do small and micro businesses utilize artificial intelligence or machine learning. And this webinar series is a collaboration between the William J. Clinton Leadership Institute at the Queen's Business School and the Digital Transformation Flexible Fund. And the key purpose of these webinar series is to support the digital transformation journey of the local small and micro businesses within Northern Ireland. So this is a part of 6 webinar series, and this is the fourth one where we'll be discussing how do the small and micro businesses use AI or machine learning. So let's very quickly introduce ourselves. So myself is Naladri Palit, and I work as a lecturer at the Queen's Business School in the area of information technology, analytics, and operations management. It is my pleasure to have 2 guests from Target Integration, Mr. Rohit Chakral and Ms. Grace Gliwanska. Rohit and Grace, would you like to introduce yourself, please? Rohit, you're on mute.
So it's the most popular phrase of the century, I would say, at this stage. You're mute. Okay, take 2. Good afternoon, everyone. Rohit is the name from a company called Target Integration. Target Integration, we'll talk about Target Integration later on as well. So I'll leave it at that. I am the CEO and working with Grace as well. Grace?
Hello, everyone. I'm Grace Gliwinska. I'm a project manager for Target Integration. I have about 20 years experience in managing businesses and projects and people as well. So I hope that I will understand some of your pain points and will be able to help you a bit more with the AI today. Thank you.
Thanks, Rohit and Grace. So let's quickly look at what we're going to do. So before that, I would briefly like to highlight to you all that some background information about DTFF and what's coming, that sort of thing. And then we will move on to our core agenda, which is a discussion on how AI and machine learning can help organizations like yours. So I'll be sharing some of the background information about AI, machine learning, and then I'll hand it over to my 2 lovely guests. They will share from their experience. And in the end, I will come back again to have some quick thoughts on by signposting you to some further support mechanisms. And then we'll open the floor for Q&A. And at any point in time, if you do have any questions, please feel free to just populate the chat box. And please do remember that this session is being recorded, so please do not put any confidential information in the chat box. So that's the thing. And the recording will be available on the YouTube channel of Clinton Leadership Institute. So I will show you how to access that in the end, okay? So let's look at the brief overview of what is DTFF. So DTFF is a demand-led grant scheme and 7.5 million altogether available, and small and micro organizations can claim anything between 5,000 to 20,000 depending on the amount of purchase. And the key reason why it is in place is because I'm sure small and micro organization like yours will appreciate the fact that everything you spend as an investment for your organization, every penny you need to be very careful, every penny you spend. So the financial barrier is one such key barriers you have day in, day out. And that's where this funding scheme is aiming to ease some of that financial barriers that might be an hindrance to this digital transformation journey. And it's a capital grant program, so DTFF won't fund anything, an ongoing revenue-based investment or revenue-based expenditure. So that's another thing you need to remember. And one of the key thing you also need is having a plan, or rather a digital transformation plan. So it's not just about buying the technology, but rather how you're going to utilize the technology for transforming your business. So that plan has to be there. So I'll talk about that in a moment's time. And the other thing is this DTFF is delivered by all the, all the local councils and are involved in that, and it is administered by the Newry, Down and District Council. So let's look at the eligibility. So you must be based in Northern Ireland, and you can be either a micro organization or a small organization, and you should be VAT registered and trading for at least 12 months. Now, during the last DTFF session or DTFF call period, when we delivered the sessions, we were asked a question that if you are in the middle of the journey of your VAT registration, what to do. I mean, there could be something that can be done, but rather than I can tell you that what I will suggest you, please log on to the DTFF and establish a contact with them. They should be able to guide you through the exact process if you are in the middle of your VAT registration journey. And I will show you the details, including a QR code. And this DTFF is available to all the sectors except the primary agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. And as I said earlier, it has to be a capital expenditure, and there will be 6 different advanced technologies from which either one or more of those you can buy. But as I said, also mentioned earlier, that it's not just about buying the technology, rather how you are making use of the technology to transform your business. And I think these webinar series is targeted for helping you better understand and better prepare for that transformation plan. So that's somewhat a distant aim for these webinar series as well. So it's a 6-stage process, though. So from 17th of June onwards, the pre-application briefing sessions will kick off. And then so you may find, again, myself or one of my colleagues delivering the sessions in various council decided venues. And for more information, please log on to DTFF's website. And once those sessions are over, you'll have a deadline for submitting an expression of interest. And those who are successful with the expression of interest, they will be invited for a full application. And again, after the full application, we will have an assessment panel involving us and the councils, and then the councils will decide who are successful for having that grant. And then those who are successful will receive a letter of offer, and once that is signed, then the ball is pretty much in your court. You will need to make the purchase, implement, and you should be able to claim it back afterwards. Okay, so that's the journey. Now, the call 3, as I said, will open on 17th of June. For further details, please check dtff.co.uk website and also this QR code. Now, before I jump onto there, I would like to just double check any question at this stage. Zach, could you please check if there is any question in the chat box? Yeah. So, all okay. All right, no problem. Right, so let's move on to the agenda of today's webinar. So I'll be starting off with what is AI, what is machine learning, and we'll try to demystify some of the, myths or some of the definitions. And then I will highlight some of the key facts and applications. And then I will hand it over to my guest when Rohit and Grace will share some of their examples from their day-to-day life about AI. And then after that, I will shortly come back and signpost you for further, help and support. Right, so that's the plan. So the question is now, what is AI? I mean, we have been hearing this terminology for a few years now. Artificial intelligence, AI possibly could take our jobs, or possibly may not, or we may learn to live with the AI alongside it. Now, the question still remains, what is AI and do we use it? So please populate the chat box. If you have used facial recognition to just say yes in the chat box. If you have used facial recognition to unlock your mobile phone. Okay, very good. So I can see quite a lot of yeses. Right, the next question is, those who have used phone banking, have you ever been given the opportunity to set your password that my voice is my password? Please say yes if you have experienced that through your phone banking. Okay, Rohit, you're saying no, so you haven't. So, okay, so this one is more no. Okay, but I have been. I can see 1 or 2 yeses, but I have been, because the bank I bank with, they have asked me to do that. And then other thing, the last question before I go into the definition, have you ever been recommended by YouTube when you logged on to YouTube, and did you get what you wanted as a recommendation rather than you searched? Please say yes or no. Okay, occasionally. Okay, yeah, that's good. So yeah, so thank you for that. So I probably wouldn't surprise you if I say all these 3 cases, they use some sort of AI. We'll talk through those, through some of the examples. Now, the question still remains, what is AI? And I can tell you that as part of my day-to-day job, my immediate source will be academic journals. And if I look at academic journals, there are probably multiple definitions. And so I promise I'm not gonna bore you with those, although those definitions are quite valid and quite robust enough, but I'm not gonna bring those into today's discussion, but rather I would be more keen to highlight some of what are the big corporations or well-known corporations think about what is AI. So let's have a look. So IBM says that it is computers and machines to stimulate human intelligence. The McKinsey company says the machine's ability to perform some cognitive function. And the SAS says that machines to learn from experience and adjust to new inputs and perform human-like tasks. The National Cybersecurity Center of the United Kingdom says that computer systems which can perform tasks usually requiring human intelligence. So if I try and summarize all these, few keywords comes up, like there has to have some computer system, some machine, and that should be capable of thinking like a human being and making decisions like a human being. And those decision has to be effective one, otherwise there's no point. And that's what is AI, that we should have some system that is capable of thinking and making decisions like AI, like human being, so that they have some sort of intelligence like a human brains to have. And now moving our focus that, okay, so AI is getting popular in the last decade or so, but does that mean AI was invented in 21st century? And then the answer is no. I mean, when I was a wee boy, one of my favorite television program was Johnny Socko and his flying robots. I was quite fascinated by that because I used to see Johnny Socko tapping his wristwatch. The robot used to function to save the society from the evils. And because I was a wee boy and I didn't have that much of money to have smart watches on my hand, so what I made an arrangement, picked up some matchboxes and some rubber bands to tie up the matchbox to imitate like a wristwatch, and used to try and tap the matchbox as if it was a watch. Of course, it didn't work because I was not the Johnny Socko. But the point here is Johnny Socko had someone who was not a human being, but can do functions on the instructions of Johnny Socko. So that was and I think, although I was born much later than 1967, but it was first broadcast in 1967, but it was still quite a popular show when I was a wee boy. Now, the first of such kind of, robotic display was in the movie in 1939 called The Wizard of the Oz, where the Tin Man was shown to imitate Maria in the Metropolis. However, if we think of more of a scientific discovery of that, then this person at the backdrop should be credited for that. Can anyone recognize the person in the backdrop of this slide? If you do, please mention the name in the chat box. Very good, thank you. So this is none other than Alan Turing. And what Alan Turing questioned, that if the human brains can utilize information and reasoning to solve problems and make decisions, why can't the machines do? And pursuit of finding an answer to that question led Mr. Turing to this famous imitation game, and based on which I believe a Hollywood movie was made as well. And there is a nice blog by the Harvard University, and I would encourage you to have a read through that whenever you get a chance. It's a nice blog about the history of AI, but although it was kind of invented in the 1950s, the popularity is in the 21st century. There's no denial about that. Now, moving our focus to another important question that we often hear terminologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, are they the same or are they different? Now, let me demystify, they're not quite the same. Artificial intelligence is the bigger set, and that is the system that is capable of thinking and making decisions like a human brain does. Whereas the machine learning is one of the algorithms which helps the AI to do that. And it is quite statistics heavy, quite number heavy, quite model heavy, but there are other algorithms in the AI as well. And deep learning is even a further subset of the machine learning, which is heavily reliant on statistical modeling. And not only that, also it is a kind of imitation of the concept that how human brain, the neurons are connected to each other in different layers. Similar thing happens with the deep learning as well. Different nodes are there, how the nodes are connected, just like a human brain. And it uses quite a lot of neural network type of algorithm. So the fact is, yeah, they might be used quite synonymously, but they're not quite the same. They are different indeed. Now, there could be several classifications around AI and their algorithms, etc. And if I start talking about that, it might, easily be more than a day's time. But we don't have that much of time, unfortunately. So we got to be, watchful about the time. So today's purpose, I have chosen these three different types of learning because these can demystify that how AI can be applied in simple tasks as well. So I have chosen supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and the reinforcement learning. Now, for the cases of supervised and unsupervised learning, the machine needs data, and the data could be labeled or unlabeled. And the machine learns from the data and makes decisions. So for the case of supervised learning, the machine needs labeled data. So there are input and there are output. We know the input, what is going to be the input and what is going to be the output. All we need the machine to do is to kind of map the input to the output so that it helps and facilitates our decision making. I mean, there are several examples I have noted down there. And one of the examples perhaps I started with how many of you used facial recognition to unlock your mobile. That could be one such thing, that the machine has got inputs of several facial images of yourself, and and then it has learned from it. And then once you provide a new input of your face, it tries to match up whether to lock it, unlock it, or not to unlock it, that sort of decision. Or it could be simple email filtering. So the system has got several emails as input. Based on certain features, it needs to decide whether to send it to the inbox or junk box, that sort of thing. Or it could be like sales forecast or demand forecast, that sort of thing. Some of the times, however, the machine can suggest you without any labels. And so in those cases, we don't know what exactly we are looking for, what kind of output we are looking for. So we let the machine to decide that for us. And one such thing is the Google News. So it clusters. There are several news information. The Google News clusters them and creates some different clusters, meaningful clusters for yourself. Or it could be customer segmentation, or it could be, anomaly detection in your manufacturing process. So your manufacturing quality assurance, if you have, the system can detect what sort of anomaly it is and what that anomaly means for you, that sort of thing. Now, there is another set of learning which is called a reinforcement learning, and it is slightly different from the last two I have talked about. And this is more of a trial and error based process. It is, it is more like teaching a puppy puppy dog, those who have puppies at home as their pets, they will understand that when the puppies are really young, your intention is to train them the good behavior and avoidance of the bad behavior. So you try to entice them with some, treats or some food to reinforce the good behavior. If they perform well, if they don't perform well, they sort of get, well, not quite a penalty, but not the treat. That if we consider that as a penalty. Similar sort of feature applies for the reinforcement learning as well. So the system is considered as an agent, and it is allowed to learn from trial and error basis from the environment where it needs to operate. If it performs well, penalty rewards are there. On the contrary, if it doesn't perform well, penalties will be imposed. Few examples could be, these robots. They need to learn from the environment, some simulated gaming, and those self-driving cars. So they need to learn from the environment based on the trial and error. Now, I will now shift my focus to two of the examples. One example is a large, well-known company called UPS Logistics. So they have a successful implementation of artificial intelligence, which even saved them, millions of money of post implementation. And the other one will be how a small, relatively small and medium enterprise in New Zealand made successful use of the AI to facilitate wine ordering. So let's start with the Orion case in UPS. So let me give you a brief backdrop to start with. So often UPS drivers were challenged on the road because it gets heavy traffic in American roads and they don't have the real-time information. So the selection of which road they would like to navigate was pretty much down to them and their expertise. And nothing against their expertise, it's just a lack of real-time data, which often held them back, and they were spending hours and hours on the road. So in 2012, with the help of Internet of Technologies and AI-based technologies, which is pretty much supported by dynamic optimization technique in this case, they came up with this on-road integrated optimization and navigation technique. And this system is capable of capturing real-time traffic and other relevant information and accordingly present the best possible route at any real given time. And that saved them 300 to 400 million dollars within 3 to 4 years from launch. Now, at this point, you must be thinking, okay, they are such a large company, they can afford it. How could we? Don't get too much upset about the fact, because this example I'm going to show you, they have kind of proven that it is possible at small to medium scale as well. Now, this fine wine delivery, it's a company, I think if I'm not wrong, it's a family-owned company, or it started as a family-owned company, even in some of the owners' bedroom, or even at their living room, some sort of idea. Now, this fine wine company, they have customers with various requests, and the customers use their search engines, which struggle because the customers use quite a lot of colloquial slangs and colloquial versions while ordering wine, like fruitier wine, sweeter wine, drier wine, that sort of thing. And the chat in that search engine struggled, but not anymore. The company developed in collaboration with the space time and some supported by extensive wine related data library. They came up with a AI based system which can capture those natural colloquial languages and still be able to suggest the best wines they might be looking for. So as a result, any customer can now say big chocolatey Barossa Shiraz for $50, which is you know, quite heavy, and still the system is capable of offering wide range of suggestions. And the best part is they don't need any wine expert to be sitting behind the computers or at the shop to decipher those heavy colloquial ideas. And even BBC had some articles similar to that, and I have mentioned the links over there for the fine wine and the BBC. So feel free to navigate through those when you get a chance. So at this juncture, I would now hand over to Rohit and Grace, and I'm pretty sure Rohit and Grace won't give you examples far away from here. They will bring the context very close to Northern Ireland. So, Rohit and Grace, over to you.
Thank you, Niladri. I think very interesting. And of course, at the same time, as a teetotaler, even I can be one of those who wouldn't know much about wines. And you would then go, okay, well, how do I convert that into somebody who knows wine and make me look like I'm a smart guy when I gift wine to somebody else? So yeah, I think, that innovation will definitely help me as well. Thank you for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll go through a short presentation on who target integration is, moving into some of the use cases that we have seen in the industry, with some of them with our clients and some of the other ones with some of the businesses that we have been working with or know of as well. At any point in time, please feel free to throw your questions into the Q&A box and or in the chat box as well, and we'll answer those questions for you as we go along. So without further ado, let me just quickly take the control, and here we are. So target integration is digital adoption specialist. We help businesses take on technology, and our idea primarily is we help you get the best out of your business insights reports. We always say that putting the data into a system is one thing, but getting the information and insights out of it is valuable, and that's where you actually get the value from your data. From locations perspective, we've got a few locations in the UK and Ireland space. So on the island of Ireland, we've got Dublin, Cork, and Belfast. And in the mainland, we've got Birmingham and Oxford as two locations. Thank you. Yeah. What do? Well, we provide solutions to our customers. We take the products off the shelf and integrate them and provide solutions to our customers. We are ISO certified, worked in over sort of 16 years. Dublin HQ started in 2008. Have around 4,000 plus customers, around 6,000 projects completed. The latest number at the moment is we have 135 experts in the team. 11 offices located in 4 countries. Some of the softwares that we work with on a regular basis, no priority order and no preference either. What we do is we provide migration, training, consultation. So you're end-to-end digital transformation effectively to the last mile of custom software development if need be, and ongoing support on a number of occasions. So what are we doing in AI? We are working with a few businesses. So one interesting one that we are working on is a help desk management system with sentiment tracking. So look at it, on a regular basis, you get an email from a client and you're trying to kind of gauge what's the mood they are in. And imagine a very busy call center quite a number of times, because email communication particularly is very much insensitive until you can't get the feelings out until somebody's using smileys or emojis, as they call it. But in this case, what we are doing is reading the context of the email and then giving a sentiment of the message or email to the agent, so that the agent can make a decision. When they're answering with a bit of sympathy, or they're answering with a bit of authority, depending on what the client is looking for. And that's one interesting project that we are working on. Another interesting one, this is another one for one of our clients based in Oxford. And for them, employee surveys, so they run surveys of employees of some of the biggest employers in the world, one with 25,000 employees spread around the globe. And look at the standard surveys which go out. They're generally around yes, no, how do you rate the sentiment of or how do you rate the working in the company, your working environment? Answers to all of these are rate them 0 to 5. And you would say, yes, that's data. And on the basis of data, we can make quite a lot of decisions as well, but that's objective data. But then you have a section where you go, okay, well, are there any other comments? And if somebody has filled it in out of 25,000 employees, let's say only 10% of them filled it in, you're looking at 2,500 responses. And before the sentiment tracking and subjective feedback summary went live, somebody used to sit there and go through all those 2,500 surveys or subjective answers, read them, and make some sense out of it. So we have reduced that significantly at this stage for our client, where now a sentiment analysis, again, a subjective feedback summary goes in and goes, okay, what's the overall view? What do these kind of 2,500 or whatever number of subjective feedbacks say? And are there any important ones which make sense and we should read about specifically? So it cuts down on a lot of manual work which used to be there before. It removes quite a lot of subjective interpretation by the reader who's reading it as well, and has made the life of our clients much easier. They are in the business of providing employee surveys and analyzing them for their clients as well. Last one is pretty easy, well, when you think about it, but creation of a website. So look at this. We work in the domain of ERP systems, e-commerce websites on a regular basis. And the biggest limitation, we have another kind of part where on the e-commerce side, but then we have website development. And the biggest challenge, anybody who has worked with websites, is the content. So getting that content out of the users and putting that into a usable, readable website is challenging, was challenging. And a lot of projects used to get delayed because, yes, I'm not sure if I've written that correctly, or I'm not sure how to do this. I'm sure quite a lot of you use AI for creation of content, but getting to a step ahead where you go, okay, AI, build me a website for, let's say, a mobile phone reselling business. Something like that can be done today. There is an off-the-shelf product. At some stage, I will probably bring that in and show you a demo of it. But yes, today it's only a kind of, where we are using AI and what are the use cases. So that's why we won't go into the depth of how we are doing this. But yes, that's effectively the summary of how we are using AI in this in our business. Other SMEs? And at this stage, let me hand it over to Grace.
Hi, Rohit. It was the group of technologies. I think it was one of yours.
Okay, I
Sorry.
That's all right. So yes, on the generative AI side of things, we are working with sales and marketing content creation. So generative AI can very quickly create content for you. Businesses are using it quite a lot in creating content. And the next one, of course, on the generative AI, and that's the Chat GPT of the sort that you're using. That's the Microsoft Copilot if you're using it as well. You can create summaries, research documents. Niladu will probably go, wait, don't do that. But research documents, if you want a summary of this, yes, you can feed the document into AI and get a summary out of it. Next one is chatbots. We are creating and we have seen the usage of chatbots creation from a website. So you go to a very detailed information-based website. Quite a lot of government websites are based around information which is stored on the website, and you generally go in and search the content. But in these cases, you can create chatbots on the basis of just the input which has been given to you, and go, look, using this input, a chatbot can answer the questions of the visitors. Language translation as well. Again, this is a little bit a step ahead from how language translation from Google Translate or something like that used to work. It's not a machine translation only, but it's much more sophisticated at this stage because it has brought in the colloquial side as well. So rather than always kind of going, how you would translate in a machine language perspective, you're now using colloquial, and a more precise output is being received. Vision and OCR, that's another area where AI is being used quite a lot. And while OCR is not an AI technology, OCR has been there for years, but at this stage, OCR with AI is making that document digitalization even more intuitive, even more easier, where we are working with environments where handwritten documents are being digitized as well, not only just read the characters which have been printed by another printer. And that, of course, kind of goes into automated data entry. So you take that scan data, put that into a database, help somebody populate the information. And if you have multiple data sources, that's where multiple data sources can be collaborated together and collected together. Quality control is another one where quality can be controlled on the information, and information particularly in the manufacturing environments where you have manufacturing unit, and that manufacturing unit is delivering quite a lot of products. How do you take those products? How do you measure whether the quality is correct or not? So look at kind of possibilities of putting a camera on the top. Anybody who's working in the manufacturing world, you can get cameras nowadays which are being set up, and these cameras are measuring a number of things. Size of the product, whether the sticker is at the right place or not. We had the opportunity of going into the manufacturing event in Dublin the other day, and yes, quite a number of solutions are out there now which are integrating machine learning, AI, together with the hardware and manufacturing and quality control side of things. More use cases on this, which is ID verification. I'm sure, Nilatu, when you were talking about logins using, biometrics, there is ID verification, which has taken off quite a lot at this stage, where you're verifying your ID and you're verifying your biometrics as well for the bank. Effectively speeds up opening up the bank account or going through any sort of detailed verification processes as well. And the last one, but not the least, on the retail analytics side of things, preference, traffic, what people are looking for, how they're utilizing, your products and services. On the pattern recognition, fraud detection. So another use case where we are working with some of the credit unions, and you're looking at the bank statements coming in, and you're looking at the patterns in them and going, okay, well, what is there an anomaly that they can detect and say, oh, wait, something is wrong with the transaction which just happened. Automated payment reconciliation, very common in the banking and the accounts finance industry. wrong data identification as well. They are all based on patterns. You're looking at the data which has been provided, and you're trying to find an anomaly in the pattern. Genomics, again, identify any mutation. If you see, this is more on the kind of medical side of things, whether you can see a mutation, whether it was a mutation of a COVID-19 virus, or whether it was a mutation of any other gene as well. You can check that. Demand forecasting, I saw a message earlier on the potential return of investment on AI ML. And yes, quite a number of times I was thinking, the answer could be AI ML as well. You could probably ask AI whether the project would be successful or not, what will be the return of investment. But at this stage, of course, demand forecasting with a lot of prediction and inputs, AI can do that for you. Lead scoring, more in the sales and marketing. If you're looking at an opportunity, whether you can, rely on it, how reliable would you be able to win that opportunity or not? Supply chains, back into manufacturing distribution, where you're working with your suppliers and or working with your own kind of manufacturing units, and you can optimize your own supply chain. Predictive maintenance, this is in addition to, so somebody would say, oh, predictive maintenance on a schedule. No, it's predictive maintenance on the basis of the behavior of your plant, of your machinery. So looking at data which is outside of your standard, of data available, how many units have been produced or how many months have passed since the last maintenance was done. No, this is more around how much vibration is the system giving and what sort of quality issues has it created? Are the products which have been produced, are they good quality or not? And if you see a deviation from the quality, is that time for maintenance? That kind of thing, that sort of information can be gathered from your prediction-based AI technologies. And I believe this time I'm right, Grace, and I'm passing it over to you.
Yes.
I'm hoping some of you could relate to some of these. And of course, again, welcome for any questions or any thoughts you have. If you've used any of those, if you're thinking of using, quite a number of times we think that, is this possible? Well, if you have that kind of question as well, we would love to know about them. If we don't have the answer, we'll still try to come back to you with an answer later on. But it'll be great to know what sort of use cases are you working with or you have in mind. Grace.
Thank you. Just ask for, sorry. Oh yes, that's perfect. So now we know some kind of the groups of technologies. We can dive into the specific uses of AI as well. So I suppose over here we can look at the customer suitable technologies. So I'm quite sure that all of you heard about ChatGPT. If you have, or if you are using it, it would be great to learn how or what you're using it for. But I think, again, it's good for research, it's good for ideation. If you're looking for a new product with the right prompt, you can actually start challenging yourself as well and get the AI to actually, start asking you questions to make sure that you're thinking broad enough. At the same time, we can try to summarize the reports. We can summarize the materials. We are living in an age where we have so many options to read. So, you can probably now upload the documents into the ChatGPT and just ask it for the summary to make your precious time or just make more time for yourself. The image editing, again, there are multiple channels already. Some of them have some of the free options, some options will be paid. Canva is one of them. You can probably go in, edit the picture. You can remove some of the objects. If you have, for example, a tractor in the background, but you prefer to have a Ferrari, no problem. If you're on a picture, but your eyes are a bit kind of red, you can just put sunglasses on. So that's another idea for the business. It's probably used now by marketing teams quite widely. The image generation is the next one. So previously we had to whenever we were preparing the presentation, we had to think about that. Now you can probably go to ChatGPT and describe what your presentation is about. You can describe each of the slides of the presentation and ask it to create the pictures for you. There's also quite a lot of companies that are giving you this option, and some of them are more graphic design based. Some of them will look like a real picture. So you can look for the options that are right for your business. Video editing is the next one. So previously it was very time consuming to make all the adjustments. You may take your cuts, but then clear the background noises and adjust the colors. This is now done nearly automatically in a matter of seconds. The voice assistants, I suppose some of you already have that in your houses. Ask Alexa for your favorite music, or ask for a recipe when you're in the kitchen and your hands are dirty. Copywriting, that is another kind of level of ChatGPT. So basically those platforms are giving you kind of more enhanced availability of ChatGPT. So you can effectively look at your brand. You can establish the voice of your brand, the tone of your brand, to make sure that you're consistent in your content that you're writing. And then you can create workflows, you can create emails, blogs, all the contents that you want, and it will be done for this specific voice and tone that you set over there. The next one, Microsoft Copilot. So this is like a ChatGPT on steroids. So, but it is so much better because it's connected with other parts of your system. So I would be really I'd like to learn more if you are using that in your business already. So if you can put the information in the chat, if you have been using the Microsoft Copilot, it would be great information for us. But if not, I'll tell you, it's connected with the office suite. So basically, if your day is very busy and you have 5 meetings in the calendar, but you will lose one of those, your Copilot, so your assistant, can actually join it for you, and you can ask it to summarize the meeting for you after. You can ask it to actually write action points for you or for your team. So it is like your personal assistant, but also it's not only that. You can also ask it to prepare the presentation for you. Now, I promise this one was done manually, but I don't know if it's good or not. You should try that next time. So there is so many uses of Copilot. I think it will actually change the way the business is done in the future. I still don't see any information in the chat, so please share some information if you are using any of those technologies. No, okay. Then it is one of the platforms we are working with. We can share more about that. It is making life easier and your work faster, because essentially you have somebody on this seat next to you who's doing half of your work. So now we can look at some more complex requirements. And we'll share some of the cases that we've been working with the customers on, and we'll give you some kind of idea as well where the businesses can use the AI and machine learning at this point. So preventative maintenance, this is quite well established now. It's as Rohit already mentioned. Previously in the manufacturing, we were working on schedules. So once you bought a compressor or any piece of machinery, the manufacturer was telling you that you have to do this interim and full service at specific times. At the moment, what's used is sensors. So basically your plant, all the machinery in your plant is getting sensors. Those sensors are measuring a different type of temperature, pressure, current, vibrations, oil, and so on. And the AI is basically analyzing the data that is coming from all of those sensors. Now, why would you use that instead of the normal maintenance that is basically based on the fit schedule, is because you can predict. So AI knows then what are the normal behaviors of your compressor. If it starts tripping, if it's running faster, if the rotation is off the norm, then it's picking up and it's sending the alert. So you can basically try to get to the point when you're improving your uptime. Now, if the manufacturing, so some of the biggest manufacturing plants, when they have a downtime, it's very costly. It's probably like, depending on what you are manufacturing, but it could be in hundreds of thousands per lost minute of production. So with this predictive maintenance, you can actually you can reduce some of the costs. You will extend the lifetime of the machine, and again saving the downtime. The next one is the customer behavior. So I think all of us had some tire kickers in our businesses. They come, they just basically ask a lot of questions, and you're left with less time for customers who actually want to buy from you. Now, in this case, what we can do, or what the software can do for you, is again, it's identifying the patterns, learning about the behavior of the customer, so how they buy, what they prefer, when they are buying it, and so on. And once they learn, we can then predict how these customers will behave, and then we can try to personalize the content, the products that we are trying to give to this customer. Also, we can look at the customer segmentation with all the data that we have, so that basically your marketing team can then try to improve the customer journey. So if somebody is at the beginning stage, they will definitely send a different type of communication at the beginning. As the next thing is, you will also learn about the demand. So if you know, and if you can predict the demand, you will be able to manage your inventory better, and have a stock in place when you need it. Personalized recommendation is another part of the identification. So basically, when you know what customer wants, you can then try to personalize your content and give customer what they are expecting from you. The next example is the quality control. Rohit already mentioned in some of the cases, what we are doing is we are looking at the visual inspection of the product that is in line, and the AI, we are giving the example of what the good product, the product that doesn't have any, the non-faulty product, what it looks like, and then we are comparing it to the product that is on the assembly line or specific station that you have. This way you can definitely speed up the process, and you can imagine that is more accurate, and it does give you better consistency of the process as well. And the last one is from our own product as well, the compliance and risk management system. So a lot of work is getting into the compliance and risk management. So those of you who are actually looking at this part of the business, you probably know there's so many regulations that you have to adhere to. So checking what's changed in the regulatory compliance is very, very time consuming. So at the moment, the software that we have is able to actually monitor the changes that are done in the specific regulations, and it can also check the product, the policies that you have, to check for these changes where they have to be applied. And the same for risk management. It's predicting the potential risk based on the historical data. So as you can see in all these case studies that we have shared, we are basically looking at patterns and to basically check and predict and make your life easier. So I suppose this is it from the complex requirements, and I suppose Rohit is back to you for some more details on CRM. sorry, ERP system?
I'm kind of thinking of this like, we've spoken about quite a number of these. So these are the ones we'll probably skim over it. But, don't forget ERP system, artificial intelligence with machine learning combined into it, and you're looking at smart lead scoring. Brilliant. You put the lead in, you put the information, email address, phone number, and you immediately get to know about more about them. OCR, document digitalization, chat GPT integration, integrate it into your marketing and sales documentation. You'll see there is so much of value out there. Like, sometimes the data sheets that you have for your products can be created and can be actually transferred over to the client in a more manageable fashion if you use ChatGPT. Chatbots, of course, saves time. AI based web solutions, another one where you build, you migrate, and you speed up the whole process here. And predictive analytics. Again, improved decision making is the key here. So, from a customer journey perspective, where do you start? What do I do? What? Where? Effectively, you need to think about, have you digitalized all your processes? That's the first thing. If you have an AI ML is far away, you need to digitalize your processes and then, yes, go into having a more streamlined approach. Go for a CRM system, ERP system, you call it whatever. These terms, acronyms were created, I think, to confuse people to a certain extent. The demarcation is reducing. What's a CRM? What's an ERP? Don't worry about it. You need a system which can manage your business process. Once you have that streamlined business process, then you're looking at automating it. And once you've automated it, then you're looking at the possibilities of reports and forecasts, and that's where AI comes in picture. And you go, I can actually speed up quite a lot of my work now. But yes, there is a journey. There is a journey to get there. And that journey, depending on where you are, you could be at the stage where you've automated everything already. And all you have to do is now bring in AI ML, or you're probably over here where you haven't digitized and you need to start digitizing things before going into report generation and of course bringing in AI and ML for you. But then at the same time, that's for the whole organization. We've spoken about a number of use cases where it's only for personal usage. It makes you productive. It is business usage, as in on an individual basis. Content, it's very strong at. So that's pretty much it. I think from our end, Niladri, we'll pass it over to you. And again, back to any questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat window.
Thank you, Rohit and Grace. So that was really fascinating how you engage with the technology and what kind of, and I think your summary in the end, Rohit, summarizes it all, that journey is very vital to the success of leveraging AI till the end, because many of the time people just don't realize having the technology is not the end product, because it's just a facilitating tool or start of the journey, and then how you utilize it to make the effective decision, that's where the key to the whole puzzle lies. So yeah, thank you for that. So right, so we'll open the floor for questions shortly. So but before that, I would like to signpost our audience to some of the further help and support mechanisms, and then we'll take your questions from the chat. So as earlier I mentioned that as part of your DTFF, you need to prepare a case, to be honest, which demonstrates that how the technology you're planning to buy is going to help your transformation process. And that involves quite a journey, as our guest Rohit has already indicated that it is a journey. And we also understand that it is not something that means writing a case for yourself or kind of like a statement of purpose type of thing to justify why you need this money to buy that technology. It's not something that you do it on everyday purposes as part of your businesses. So it could come across as quite a daunting task for some of you, or even for many of you. And we wouldn't be surprised or we wouldn't be critical if it does, because we appreciate that it is not something you do it every day. So while we cannot say, or rather we can't, we can't write that application for you. However, we can signpost you to some of the support mechanism or sources where you can grab more ideas or more skills for more of a longer term kind of development for your end, so that one day, and that one day could be soon or could be later, you become more of a self-sufficient and independent enough to write such an application, that sort of thing. So you can approach any of the further colleges across Northern Ireland, or Queen's University Belfast, or even the University of Ulster has got Smart Manufacturing Data Hub, or the local councils and authorities have some enterprise support system, Innovate NI, and any other support mechanism you identify. And then very briefly, Queen's University Belfast, we offer business clinics where, a student can offer some consultancy and the data duo monitoring or meeting of the minds, and particularly within the Clinton Leadership Institute, we have a dedicated team of experts who, involving program directors, academic researchers who can, and support team members who can support you and identify your needs, and and we do have customized and some executive programs like digital transformation toolbox or business analytics program. I mean, plenty of support mechanism depending on what you are looking for. Do feel free to, scan the QR code and get in touch with us. And lastly, just to give you some reminder, I mean, we still have got two more webinars due, one on the 18th of June and the other one is on 25th of June. Feel free to scan. And this webinar series has been prepared in keeping in mind the technologies that are part of the DTFF. And these are the dates. And this is the YouTube channel where you can find the recordings, including the ones that have already taken place and today's one as well, and the ones that will take place in the future. So that is all from our side. So I would like to once again thank you everyone for joining and attending this webinar. So now I would like to open the floor for any further Q&A. So we have got,
We've got probably three questions at the moment. First one,
yes.
Sam has asked, how can small business perform a cost-benefit analysis
Yep.
to determine the potential return on investment of AI/ML projects?
Mhm.
So I was looking at this earlier, and my answer was going to be use AI/ML. So actually, there is another product available which allows you to create forecast, allows you to create appreciation of return of investment or appreciation of investments and all. But yes, in general, to talk about this kind of business side, and I think, Niladri, probably it's for you as well from kind of funding perspective. I'm sure agencies will look for what is the return on investment, but it's pretty much like any other business. It's like any other business proposal. Um, you'll have to look at what advantage does it bring in, does it increase sales, does it reduce cost, and how much would that be? Look at the long-term vision as well. Being first mover's advantage in your industry, does it bring in any competitive advantage as well? So there are multiple ways of doing this, but it's still like any other financial appreciation that you would do on investment like the Niladri. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would have said the same thing, that what are your vision, what exactly you're trying to achieve, and how that translates into your, you know, the benefits over the time, and often you may not realize the benefits immediately. I mean, it's probably one of the, slightly in a different context, one of the burning example would be Amazon, because when they started in 1998, it was consistently running in losses for a few years. And then in today's time, we can safely say rest is history, because Mr. Bezos knew what he was doing. And there's a similar thing that, where do you set the vision, and can you translate that vision into the benefits, cost benefit, or the cost benefit might not be too direct. Sometimes it could be indirect. Like it can, like, if it's let's say, for example, you're training your workforce, that certainly needs cost to be money to be invested. Now if you see that as a cost, in the shorter time, you may feel it, okay, we spend quite a lot of money, but the social capital dividend you may earn over the time, and thanks to these similar things can happen with the technology as well, that the dividend you can earn, that might be over time. So that's the thing.
The next one that we have is, and I'll have to pass that over to you as well. What regulatory
Yeah.
challenges might small businesses face when deploying AI ML solutions, and how can they ensure compliance with local and international laws?
I think in my understanding, the first challenge will be data protection, because humongous amount of data is on the way, and especially we have GDPR and other data protection regulation, and I think things become even trickier if we think of a business or a supply chain type of setup where we are here and our business partners are, let's say, somewhere in the Middle East or in Africa or in Oceania. They may have a different regulatory setup. How do those of the international regulatory setup talk to each other or comply with each other, particularly in relation to the data privacy and et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's one of the immediate challenge that will pop into my mind, that regulatory challenges like data, how the data regulations are. And I think whether I'm not really sure if I should be considering as a regulatory challenge or not, but somehow some regulatory challenges might be relevant to this as well, like intellectual property rights and all those copyrights and all those things. So these are two of the immediate ones. I'm not sure about both of you. Like, do you have any other ideas that you
Yeah.
encountered in your work in life?
See, again, AI and ML, they are two sides, they are two different kind of,
Yeah.
environments, I would say. If you're giving the data over to another provider, yes, you have to be careful about it. But then at the same time, you would say, well, if you're using Office 365, all of your data is with Microsoft anyways.
Mm,
And if that's compliant, Copilot is compliant,
mm,
a safe way. Um, so laws in general are always behind the curve. You have to kind of catch up with them quite quickly as well.
yeah.
I'm conscious of the time, and that's why we'll probably move on. But yes, it's one of those things you have to kind of keep an eye out as to what sort of laws are you playing against. And yes,
Yeah.
it's one of those compliance needs.
Sorry, from experience, I would just say from one of the clients as well, because you may see that after you get the audit, they will ask you about being transparent of where in your business the AI or ML is used, and to what extent you do have you are able to control it, or is it completely automated? So that's another thing that is good to keep a track of.
Then we have
A
another
question on
question. Yeah.
AI learn from data. Is there a rule of thumb about how much minimum learning is needed? For example, seasonal manufacturing, how many years of data are needed? Sales forecasts, how much purchase information is needed?
Will I try, attempt?
Yes, please go ahead.
So, Rod, the answer here primarily is how precise do you want the input? And then don't forget, AI is not only just the sales data to predict the sales forecast, it's more around how many other data sources can you pull in. If you just go by sales data, quite a number of times it's incorrect. And of course, you need to bring in growth, you need to bring in seasonality, you need to bring in some cases, weather forecasts, in some cases, external factors like local elections, for that sake as well. So, how much data is enough? There isn't a straightforward answer there. And that's just because like, how much precision do you want to get? And it's not just the time period, it's actually how many other sources of data do you want to include in your forecast, in your forecast analysis and forecast calculation. And similarly, purchase has the same conundrum as well. Quite a number of times we have the input of a sales manager to say how much do we need to buy depends on how much can the sales team sell and what's their forecast around it. And then you go, okay, well, sales team needs another AI forecast. So an AI forecast for sales will drive an AI forecast for purchases, possible, but they both need data. They both need quite a lot of data to make those decisions for you. And they're not decisions, they're effectively recommendations. I wouldn't get kind of given whatever is happening, I would still take that as a guidance rather than a definite answer.
So I would like to add to what Rohit has mentioned as you're 100% spot on target, Rohit. That depends. The answer depends on what precision do you want, and that is the case with the model side of it as well. Very interestingly, because all these forecasting techniques, machine learning use, it is never 100% guaranteed, but the accuracy, the error will shrink if we have more and more and more data. And perhaps, that's why, I mean, these days we have various millennial or post-millennial languages used in internet like GOT. And at first I thought, what on earth is GOT? And then I get to realize what is GOT. So not GOT, GOAT, I beg your pardon. And that became very popular post last FIFA World Cup, that Lionel Messi is the GOAT. And then I realized that, this kind of tags or this kind of analysis often get misconstrued, like with the lack of data. Like often people jump onto a conclusion, okay, this new person, and that happened with, I think, one of the cases that when the famous footballer Cristiano Ronaldo was sidelined to make a place for some new person, and the new person scored a hat trick in their debut match, and then suddenly the internet emerged to call the new person as the next GOAT. 2 or 3 more matches, the new person couldn't do anything. And that can happen because it's a matter of consistency, how much data we have to kind of predict or forecast the abilities and consistency, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's the thing. That's the answer, that how much precision do you want? And that's where the answer is.
I think that's all the questions we have so far.
Yeah. I mean, I just have one final quick question to both of you. So firstly, thank you very much for joining us and sharing insightful thoughts. Just before wrapping up, like from your experience, since you mentioned the journey and the importance of it, I mean, perhaps that's where many of our participants can relate to their own struggle, that, okay, how to start, where to start the journey. Do you have any sort of kind of advice, or that, yes, this is one of the recognizable barriers, and not just in this part of the world, perhaps maybe in various other parts of the world with similar sort of organizational features? What sort of recommendation or kind of suggestions from your professional expertise you will have for the participants?
To be honest, Grace, I'll let you kind of lead this.
Well, I would say have a look at make an audit of your processes in the company, and look at the manual input, the ones that are actually the most manual, and the ones that are actually taking place on a regular basis. And also then have a look at what is the important in your business now, where your business is at, because if you are at the starting point, the getting money into the business would be the most important one. So that will give us some kind of idea of where we should focus to start with. So I suppose that would be from me. I don't know, Rohit, how would be your way of looking at that?
No, you've covered that well, of course. It's knowing where you are today, have that audit, and then take the next step. There's no point. It's not a silver bullet. It's not one size fits all. Everybody has their own journey, and that has to be mapped first before you start.
Okay.
Megati?
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely happy what you suggested. So yeah, it can never be a one size fits all solution. It is pretty much case by case basis, and it's a very good suggestion, Grace, you have, that audit yourself just to assess where you stand and what you need to do. That sort of thing is, I think that's a very valuable advice, because often we forget that, okay, we probably need to understand our own abilities and limitations, and because we can dream and aspire to become and achieve so many things, but often there are obstructions, barriers, and we need to work with those in place. So those are not going to disappear tomorrow all of a sudden. So yeah, thank you very much for that. So I don't think, is there any question? Look for bottlenecks and pain points. I think that was more of a suggestion, I suppose. So it doesn't look like any other question. Anyone has any further last questions for us? No. So okay, so in that case, so thanks everyone for joining today, and I hope you found some pointers to take away and to consider for for further thoughts in your end, that where and how to start that journey. And hopefully these thoughts are helpful for you. And I would also like to thank you, Grace, and thank you, Rohit, for sharing your very valuable thoughts. So on that note, we would like to draw a conclusion to this webinar, and my colleague Zach has already shared the link. So do feel free to just check the recording if you have missed a part of it or something like that. So once again, thanks everyone, and that's all from our side today. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Megati.
Thank you.